All right, so Lee, appreciate you being on the podcast today.
Happy to swing by. It's great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. First time in Jacksonville, right?
It is indeed all new territory. So not familiar with this part of the country, nor this state, nor this region. So
yeah, you're out west, right?
I am. Yep, I'm out there in Utah and California. That's where I spend the majority of my time.
Yeah,
yeah.
Cool. But Realtree is just north of us in Georgia, right?
Correct. Yeah, they're based in Columbus, Georgia. I'm kind of one of a small handful that work remote, and then I come back to the office periodically, about every month or so, to see folks in person. Something like proximity to help improve communication. So it's always good. Yeah. Yep.
So Realtree, do you mind give us a quick overview? I mean, I know about them. Obviously, we were just talking about fishing a little bit, and obviously you do a little hunting as well. So if you're in that space, you've heard of Realtree. But for those that are listening that might not know much about them, what does Realtree do?
Yeah, no, it's actually a really interesting brand. It was started by Bill Jordan. Back really in the 80s, he was one of the originals who created camo patterns, literally sitting on his folks' front porch with an oak tree in front of him and sketching it out and creating a camo pattern. And then the abbreviated story that I'm confident in telling is I know that he parlayed that into more of a licensing rather than taking product, building product, and then try to distribute that product. Actually took the camo pattern, and now we've evolved into a lot of different patterns over time, and licensing that pattern to other companies and partners that then build their products. And it's really kind of a value add because while the camo patterns have evolved, the Realtree name and logo have remained there. And the cool thing about the company is that they retain the quality of the pattern all the way through the production, making sure that the quality control in the print fabrication and the application of it, even like applying it to non-cloth things like the dip method in like a sink. I mean, it's a whole set of technology marvels that I didn't really understand before I joined. So they license it to others, a lot of name brands, probably over 1,000 at some point, partners out there who license the Realtree brand to enhance their ability to conceal and hunt, and really even just as a lifestyle that kind of represents the tribal affiliation of I'm a hunter, I'm in the outdoors, this is what I like to do, and enjoy, like Bill says, family and friends in the outdoors.
I mean, that's such a great model of licensing, right? If you get a good product and being that the design essentially that Realtree has and the multiple different designs, and then just have everyone else kind of produce it, right? It's a great model.
Yeah.
But about 3 years ago, you guys decided to get into e-commerce in that world, right? Is that about accurate? About 3 years ago?
Yep. Coming up on 3 years.
Love to hear about that journey, right? And just kind of tell us a little bit more about the decision to go into e-commerce and how it's been going.
Been great because with everybody else having Realtree, as a partnership in their products, it's really elevated the Realtree brand awareness and about that lifestyle. And so I came on about 3 years ago. Jim McGinn, who's head of marketing, joined the company, and a lot of other folks have come into the organization to look at what can we do for creating other channels of opportunity to grow the brand. And so when we came in and we looked at the strategy around creating a new website, web is what I kind of live and do. So I'm more of a web person than a hunter, so to speak. So fortunately, they looked at those skills, brought the team together and looked at the strategy about how can we grow the brand, how can we really go where our customers are online, and ended up redesigning the entire website with the focus on camo and with the focus on e-commerce. So the great thing about Realtree and with Bill, they've been telling stories about this space for decades. All right, there's so much content about hunting. Bill used to have a show on the cable channel about hunting and the outdoors, and so now it's about really telling that story with the store. So now you can find the products that you hear in the stories that are out there. So it's really about meeting customers where they're at, enjoying the stories, but here's where you can take action and, get that pair of pants or that jacket or that, parka or hunting gear overall in the same spot at Realtree.com.
Big part of that is bringing the licensed partners into the e-commerce store, your own Realtree.com store, right? And that's kind of where the dropship piece came into it, right? So can you maybe talk about that strategy in general? Or
it's a perfect fit, really. So we had the store, we had the website for a long time. And then they added a store. So there were two different URLs in a way that was kind of a awkward cross-linking. So then when we relaunched a little over a year ago, we fused the store into the content site. And that part of that strategy is to bring the partner's goods to bear within our environment. Heretofore, you would go to a certain point about, here's a Bushnell set of binocs or an Alps bag or, rifle bag or whatever. And then it would bounce out to the site, and it may or may not be accurate. And that site, that link may or may not have been relevant or current. And so by actually adding that element of bringing the product in to Realtree.com, but not having to take title to the product, it's a great extension of the partner's brand into our environment that's living and is accessible and most of all purchasable. All right. So Flxpoint was a perfect fit for that touch point of the strategy.
Right. So it sounds like, and I didn't know this part, that you guys had an affiliate model where you did actually have them on the website, but you would link out to frogtogs.com or whatever. But I see affiliate.
At the very mature of sharing it was just a link to a landing page that may or may not be current because, there's a lot of things going on, and the care and feeding of the website requires constant maintenance. So, it was literally kind of a value add that we'll put your link on the site and we'll talk about you. But that was it. It was kind of a dead end. Right. So now there's an action to be taken with the partners that we're bringing on to be able to tell their story within the Realtree campfire, if you will.
So moving into this business, still relatively new, right? 3 years. You're fresh. It sounds like you were integral in the launch of it. You were early on, right? I mean, you came in and kind of helped do this right out of the gate. What kind of challenges did you see? What kind of wins have you seen? Just curious if you can kind of dig in more on that journey that you've had over the last 3 years.
It's actually been really going from strength to strength overall. I think that the great thing is that we've had a lot of support internally. People are excited to being able to modernize the web experience for Realtree, bringing in a whole new platform for the storytelling. So was able to get the best of the most modern web approach on that, and then fusing in the store into the areas where it makes sense, as well as the typical kind of e-commerce experience that you have. So it actually was, other than dealing with software where you're always full of hope and optimism at the beginning, you make a plan till you have more information, then you make another plan. We were pretty much on time with delivering what we said we would. That goes with having a good dev agency that we worked with, having good UX, which is fundamental. Internally, everybody was aligned and excited to see what was going on. And there's a lot to the components within Realtree. And now everybody's understanding what we were talking about and kind of doing shadow puppets. Imagine, if you will, right, here's what the website will be. But now, we made it real, and we've got, a little bit over a year, like 13 months under our belt with being live. Yeah. And so now it's really just about continually optimizing, continually adding partners, and continually growing the brand in a way that, hasn't been done before.
You mentioned adding partners, right? And you guys sound like you were able to execute in the timelines you were kind of thinking about. But if I know anything about technology or projects in general, we involve third parties and partners. That usually can slow things down, right? And I know integrating partners is a big part of why you guys joined Flxpoint. But can you talk about what that process is to integrate a partner? Any best practice around it, like how you leverage Flxpoint? Just better, the viewers to understand more about how that process works from your side. Because I know that's a big part of the e-commerce business you guys run.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and I feel like we're getting to a good point of maturity in some ways. And part of it is, just being nimble and fail fast, and then figure out, your learnings from there. So I would say at this point, when we started, it was just kind of like, go on this journey, if you will. We'll figure it out together, partner A, B, or C, right? And now we've developed an Excel doc with here's all of our information you'll need. Here's an instruction sheet on basically leverage from Flxpoint docs about if you're on Shopify, here's the steps to take, and this is what I need. We use that for creating a SKU list, a catalog that we're going to ingest with the pricing, and then being able to use that as a communication tool. So then when we actually get into Flxpoint, it becomes much more seamless. So I'd say the vast majority we have of our partners are on Shopify, but there's WooCommerce and there's Magento. And some of them are on a hybrid sort of setup where some of it's EDI and then some of it's, an online site. But by and large, it's gone surprisingly well. Usually the devil in the late nights are in the little details on where that's at and why isn't this working. And then you load it and then you wait and then you go and come back. And it's that kind of tenacity that you kind of need to have to plow through data to get it right. Because if your data is wrong, then everything else is wrong. So it comes down to the nuances of that.
So what would you say, what's one of the successes when it comes to onboarding a supplier? How quickly have you onboarded a supplier in Flxpoint, or maybe on average, or what's the timeline we're looking at here?
The bounding range, I would say, is about anywhere from 3 days. So we just added Akimbo out of LA, a small shop that's using more urban style apparel out of LA. And another one has been, almost a year and a half in the making because I got into EDI and you're competing with resources with a third party provider in that sense. But we're live with them now as well. So there's elapsed time and then there's actual time. And so when sometimes those are perceptively long, but not taking up more time, there's just a matter of getting everybody on the same priority to move the ball the next step downfield.
Right. So that 3-day one, what kind of integration was that?
Shopify, the catalog was clean. The metrics were understood around cost and MSRP. The keys worked. Flxpoint, at this point, I know what I know, and you guys have so much powerful capabilities. There's a lot I don't know, but I know what I know in order to get our product up on our site. Even the SKU count really doesn't matter. It's a matter of making sure that everything is understood about naming and costs and SKUs and so forth like that.
Well, so this is the Modern Merchant Podcast. We like to think about, modern technology, modern approaches like Realtree has taken, right, evolving their business. One of the things I love to ask is tech stack, right? So what is your tech stack? You mentioned a couple, but if you just can give us the kind of list of what technology you guys use to run your e-commerce business.
Well, in bringing it together, where we had the content site, which is on Drupal, and then our e-commerce site, which is on BigCommerce, what we did when we put out the RFP around this melding of store and story together, we looked at more of the current approach of kind of a headless app, right? So we ended up going with Amplience, which is a content management system, but also presents into a publication layer. So that publication layer is actually BigCommerce with a wrapper around it. So we have this middleware on Amazon that uses BigCommerce as the platform with a wrapper around the Amplience modules, which are stories, which are banners, which are content, which are products, everything like that. So you have the store genesis, then you have the Amplience for content and creating that experience around it, all wrapped around, basically a framework that mimics what BigCommerce would be doing if they had all these capabilities.
Gotcha. So BigCommerce is still the foundational engine that you're building off the headless platform?
Just in the sense that we're able to then put the store log, you can log into your account, you can see your purchases. So you have the e-commerce kind of like wrapper around it. And within that is Amplience modules for stories and everything from advertisements and banners. We do a lot of stories. We do a lot of blogs. We have a lot of contributors telling the story out there of our partners on Realtree, and then being able to check out from any page. So that's why we have the e-commerce wrapper of BigCommerce.
Right. So BigCommerce, obviously the cart, if you will, right? You talked about the content side with Amplience. What is it?
Amplience.
Amplience. Okay. Yep. So we talked about that. And then how would you describe where Flxpoint fits in?
So the great thing about what we are using Flxpoint for is the ability to add product to the overall catalog. So right now, we went through strategy development. We went through the RFP. We selected what we're going to do. We built the site. And now the focus is we've added somebody who runs the store, kind of a merchandising approach, categorization, where are we at, what's the breadth of what we offer in there, and that I focus on more about getting the product in these days. So I work much deeper and more the subject matter expert internally for Flxpoint, even though there's, a couple of others that we do some things together with. Value add for Flxpoint is the value add for adding our partners into the Realtree ecosystem. Without that, we would be perhaps taking a stack of products. It might be sitting in our DC because we do have some direct sell apparel, more lifestyle and like brand and logo type wear. And so by not having that inventory, either selling out and then we need to get more and it's gone from our partner, or our partner's sold out and it's sitting here on our store, aging. The beauty of Dropship is that we're building this marketplace of things Realtree from partners where there's an added benefit to the partner being able to sell direct, but also it's an added benefit to say within the Realtree environment, here's all the various types of things you can be doing with Realtree branded gear as well.
Not only, like you said, because you will bring it in-house, the warehouse. Like, will you bring in, buy items and bring them in and sit them there and ship them out from the actual warehouse?
Sometimes when we sense there's going to be velocity, sometimes if the partner doesn't necessarily have a dropship program or it's not robust, we might take a trial set and see how that goes with the understanding, it's almost like a crawl, walk, run with, hey, let's take some product, let's see how it goes. Right. If not, we'll figure that out and to kind of prime the pump towards more of a dropship model.
Interesting. So you'll actually start by buying some wholesale, put it up on the site, see if it sells, see if you're getting views, see if you're getting conversion, and then, okay, I'll go through the effort of, bringing you on as an actual partner. Is that accurate?
That's a very small percentage to actually do that. Actually, it's the other way around. Yeah. It's much easier with the greater return on effort to integrate them through Flxpoint into our site. And there's kind of a win-win there. In the fullness of time, we can see what consumer behavior and consumer demand is. So there's the data, the insights, the consumer insights around what's selling from our particular website market audience, right? May or may not be the same market audience that's on the partner site. But for us, the consumer insights and understanding what's selling and what isn't. And then if there's other parts of the partner's catalog that we might be easier or we can have better terms with, we might take some in. But by and large, it's really an anathema to be having a DC full of stuff that's bifurcated from the partner source that sell, themselves. So, yeah.
Right. That's the model I'm familiar with, right? You touch on it where data is so important, and you can spend 3 days, integrate a Shopify store. I've seen some people do it within a day, integrate a partner that's on Shopify, BigCommerce, whatever, get it up, merchandise to the website and list it. And then you understand where the view's happening, where the click-through rate's actually happening. Absolutely. And then the sales, ultimately, you can sell it, which is, the ultimate data point you want. And then from there, maybe that partner says, well, I'll give you a more, percentage margin points if you buy a whole pallet of them. And you're like, okay, well, we got the data. We know we can sell it. Right. That sounds like you've implemented that strategy.
We're on that trajectory. Absolutely. Like I said, we've been live with this a couple of years now. We're getting a lot of partners on. We're selective on the partners that we do take because we want that velocity and veracity around demand and interest, and also see what's the product market fit for, like I say, our market being Realtree.com customers, which we found runs the gamut, which has been insightful. We have a couple brands that are very urban appeal, where Camo has a huge urban appeal in ways where heretofore you may not have thought about that. You think it's just more of the hunting industry or the what they call hook and bullet in the industry, right? As opposed to just, leave tracks and take memories kind of thing, right? And so that's been exciting. Also seeing just in general these, the AOV going up, because we can see that there's some things are really good everyday low price value, but also that more premium gear. And, you get a good spectrum of data from which to infer where there's traction and where there's things that we don't want to pursue.
Now, I always love asking this question. I know you've been in the app a good bit, right? And you've used a lot of it and worked with our Lee on our side. Yeah. I'm curious, Flxpoint is about connecting, and it's simple enough, right? You connect the store, you connect this file, EDI, whatever, you get it up to your store. But there's a lot of robust features in it, right? So I'm curious, if there's any kind of feature specifically that's your favorite, any kind of game changer function that you feel really has been able to level up the speed or the automation that allows you on a day-to-day basis to get your job done?
Yeah, and working with your team here that have been outstanding, there are some power moves that we can create. Creating a list of the SKUs that you want to bring in and just those SKUs, right? And now, so you've got either mapping in the mapping utilities, you've got lists, and then you create rules. So you set a lot of rules. One of the key things is from our BigCommerce, the consumer will get an order number. Thanks for shopping. Here's your order number. That order number is key to tie the whole thing back to invoicing and billing and all of that. And so that order number needs to pass all the way through. So I would say one of the cool features of all the Flxpoint capabilities is being able to create rules to say, add this purchase order reference number in the notes field to pass it all the way through to the receiving end. So then when they fulfill it and pull back and ship it and then send us the invoice, they can actually include our consumer's order number on their invoice. So our accounting go, yep, here's this order we saw on this side and it got fulfilled on that side, and therefore everything lines up. So keeping the accounting team happy is a high priority, right? Yeah, probably no more important, department in the company.
Definitely
the money people.
The accounting team or the CFO or the controller join like a deal, right? And then like in the demos, I'm like, okay, we're focusing on this one right here. We got to make sure he is happy, or she, So plans for 2024, I don't think we touched on this before. I don't think we really spoke about it, but I'd be interested to know, what are the goals for whether it's just Realtree as a overall entity, the e-commerce side with Flxpoint? Just curious on kind of where you guys are focused.
I would say continuing to expand the brand and make it relevant to customers that we know and new customers that we're learning about. And so a lot of that includes more online. We just came out with a new pattern this year that we launched at SHOT Show, APX. it's the 10th generation of the all-purpose camo, and that's been had great reception. So we come out with a camo pattern drop, about with a certain amount of frequency. So this year was APX. Realtree fishing is taken off. So there's a lot of patterns in use in that space. And what's interesting is that people will take a pattern from, say, the Realtree fishing and apply a different hue or tone to it and then make it a hunting camo. So there's so much variety and matrixing that is capable around what we can do from patterns with partners, and then taking that and then selling it, online through D2C. So D2C, our direct-to-consumer channel is new for us, and our partners are coming along with us. And so that's growing. And so we're just getting our legs under us on that. So I would say going from strength to strength on D2C, adding more partners through Flxpoint. Like I say, it's the longest time sometimes is waiting for the package to arrive, because we'll check the whole out-of-box experience, right, and make sure that it's referencing who it's referencing and what it's supposed to be. So we don't go live with our partner. We'll place test orders, make sure everything looks good on their end, and then when we get the box, we'll have the out-of-box experience. Yep, Ubi looks good. Then we'll go live and take care of that. So the nice capability about being able to turn on and off products, or delist or hide them through Flxpoint's great. But I'd say good, going forward is adding more dropship brands. Personally, my goal is to, increase the percentage total of revenue that comes from dropship. So that's kind of, what my metrics are measured about is getting that going. And then just really pursuing more around understanding where our customers are online and remaining relevant to them, and, making sure we stay true to, our core values.
As far as driving new revenue, is bringing on new partners a big piece of that? Is that one of the top ways to drive new revenue, or other strategies?
There's the bulk of effort around licensing, which is the bread and butter of Realtree currently, and this is adding this direct to consumer channel for partners is a value add, where not only do we extend their brand into the Realtree space, you can buy it, you can see how it sells, and you could even try, you can work on different SKUs, unique SKUs and stuff like that. So I think getting into things that are differentiated with our partners is helpful. And then always have, we have a great storytelling engine in marketing around hunts and products and social and all of that. So I think it kind of creates this flywheel effect around, I saw it online, I saw it here, does Realtree have it? Oh, it's right there, right? And removing that doubt of I can just buy it here.
Yeah. That's a good point with the partners, right? They can get in front of your audience on your site, and they can try out new things. They can use it as a test environment as well, right?
Absolutely.
Work with you guys hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, very cool. Yeah. Awesome. What else? Are you excited for anything? Anything you've been seeing in the outdoor industry, e-commerce, anything maybe we just didn't touch on in general about Flxpoint, before we kind of wrap it up?
What I think is that it's always a surprise that people are still catching up on what's available and what the realities are online in the outdoors and sports and lifestyle industries. It's overall, you don't build a website and they will come and that's it. It's constant. It requires constant attention to optimizing, looking at the data, what's happening out there, where are people shopping now, and can you map their experience into yours so they don't have to think, right, about what they're doing here. So UX is key to everything. But you can't have just products and not tell a story about it. E-commerce is about storytelling. And so being able to fuse those together, I think, is what more and more people are realizing, that it's not a defensive play about cannibalization. It's about the more your brand is out there across all channels, the more it's going to be available and the more people are going to gravitate to it. Right. So being able to extend people's brands into it. And I think overall on outdoors, like I say, they're kind of not technologists people. They're outdoor people, right? And so being able to understand that technology is affecting everybody's lives now. You can't just have your shop at the corner in the best spot and expect people to come, because people are walking in, web rooming, or they're online looking at it, showrooming and all of that. And I think it's been interesting to see over the past, even recent years, that people are starting to acknowledge I either need to adapt, right, or get out of the industry and try something else. So embracing, I think, technology and realizing the more awareness everywhere is rising all boats. And so it's fun to watch that kind of grow, that insight and maturity grow year over year in the outdoor industry. That I do what I love, and so therefore I'm in technology in this space because I try and, have my vocation and my avocation at least have a compatibility to it. So it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Very cool. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned you're selling to outdoors people, not technology people, but everyone's got a smartphone on them now. And I would love to see the data point of how many products have been bought on Realtree.com from a tree stand. Because, you're up there, nothing's going on. You look, you're like, oh, you know what? I need some new camo. This one's got a hole in it or something. But it's pervasive, like you said. And I've seen you guys grow. Obviously, you guys have had a successful e-commerce venture that is just getting started. So I think there's a lot of helpful stuff in this chat. So I appreciate you joining.
No, thanks. Thanks for the time. And you just kind of nailed it. It's like never underestimate the sophistication of your customer. I mean, if you're putting up deer cameras, you've got mobile apps. It's more about catching up and meeting them where they're at. And that's kind of the fun future ahead.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we'll have to have you back. We already kind of planted the seed of like having you in as a regular here in Jacksonville. Thanks for making the trip, man.
Enjoyed it. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat.
For sure.